AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We are at Radio Row, Super Bowl 60, the Moscone Center in San Francisco. Moscone, but people call me Moscone my whole life anyway, so might as well claim the joint. Fired up to be here, man. We did Super Bowl Radio Row last year for the first time in New Orleans, and we said, we're going to do that every year in perpetuity because it's just the event you have to be at. Let me give you a little bit of a rundown on today. So we're going to kind of blend a few things. Today is the February signing day for college football, like the traditional signing day. And the Tigers did add 2 players, and Lane Kiffin did meet with reporters. Of course, Lane Kiffin gets hired. He does a press conference on that Monday, doesn't speak to reporters again for, let's see, all of December, all of January, for 2 months, 9 weeks, whatever it might be, and almost 10 weeks. And I get on a plane to San Francisco, and he's going to have a press conference, naturally. But we'll let you hear a lot of what Lane had to say. Tigers added Jackson Williams, the defensive back out of Archbishop Shaw, the Fighting Sharif Ishaks. And also Adrian Lamb, JUCO offensive lineman. So 18 high school signees for LSU, coupled with the 42 portal additions. And Lane Kiffin's year 1 roster now is about set. So we will get into that a little bit later. Lots of media availability as well around the Super Bowl with the players and coaches meeting with reporters earlier in the day. I would direct you over to LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson, who obviously is covering the Saints, is here with us for LouisianaSports.net, covering the Super Bowl and doing a lot of the player availability with the 2 teams. Did catch up earlier today with Rashid Shaheed. He's going to catch up with the LSU guys. Just as for your information of how this is set up, so we are in downtown San Francisco, which is where the media row and several of these events are taking place. The teams are staying nearer Santa Clara, north of here, about an hour north of here, where the game is going to be played, and they're practicing at Stanford and San Jose State. So they are, and that's where the player media availability is happening. So being that we're here in San Francisco doing the show in Radio Row, and you have to be available when people are, we're not making the trip. So Ross has got that coverage for us up at LouisianaSports.net. I'm fired up. Let me just give you a rundown of the day. Donovan McNabb is going to be with us here in 10 minutes from right now. Of course, all-pro quarterback, a guy who has his jersey retired by the Eagles, his jersey retired by Syracuse. Donovan McNabb's here in 10 minutes from right now. FredAnthony Smith, who did a movie on Michael Vick, the coach, Michael Vick, he'll be here later this hour. CJ Ham will be here today as well. We'll get the betting perspective from Kelly Stewart and Ariel Epstein. Of course, Kelly in Vegas, if you know her handle. That's at the end of the show today. And my goodness, do we have a loaded show. Caught up with Jaguars head coach, Southern Jaguars head coach Marshall Faulk. Demario Davis was literally just sitting with me for our chat. We'll hear that coming up in a little bit as well. Clinton Yates from ESPN, Brian Smith, CBS college sports analyst, Fred Smoot visited with us earlier today. So you're going to hear all that on today's show. So just buckle up and be ready for the next 3 hours because, my goodness, do we have a ton to get to. Before I say another word, though, I do want to thank FMOL Health, our friends over at, of course, Our Lady of the Lake, which has been a championship health partner of LSU Athletics and our partner on AFR as part of the FMOL Health system, and FMOL Health is sponsoring our trip here. So all of what we're doing this week is all courtesy of our friends over at FMOL Health. So sincere appreciation to FMOL Health for sponsoring our coverage here from Radio Row all this week at Super Bowl 60. A couple of things as well that that I want to make sure that we touch on as we move forward here throughout the day. I do think, as we talk, go back to Kiffin here, as Lane Kiffin sort of gave the overview of building this staff and this roster, here's what Lane said about the job that his staff did building this roster for 2026.
Our staff did a really good job in a very challenging situation. Luckily, we were recruiting to LSU and all the great things with that made us able to put together this class, but that was a challenging time. Been discussed before, the calendar is what it is, and to try and put together a staff at the same time as trying to keep the current players immediately before the portal opened as they were preparing for a bowl game with the previous staff, and then just kind of uncharted waters by our staff, a number of our staff, offensively going back and forth between the playoff run at the last place and then trying to put together this group here.
Does anybody else love that he refers to Ole Miss as the last place? That he won't actually say Ole Miss. He'll say where we were, the last place. I think that's going to be something, maybe a slight little dig that a lot of LSU fans are going to enjoy hearing. So ultimately, when you think of that, really in the portal cycle, the 3-week sprint that was is something that I think in time we will look back on and really sort of look back in awe at how they were able to navigate that, especially with a lot of those coaches going back and forth. The other thing that I think is certainly worth mentioning is a guy that deserves a hat tip is Eric Wolford. Eric Wolford is the LSU offensive line coach. He's the only offensive staff member that did not follow Kiffin from Ole Miss. Of course, John Garrison was the Ole Miss offensive line coach. If you remember, that Monday that Kiffin was introduced, remember he flew to Baton Rouge from Oxford on that Sunday. Monday he was introduced. Well, that Monday, Kevin Smith and John Garrison did not get on the plane Sunday to Baton Rouge. Monday, they and their wives were supposed to come to Baton Rouge. The wives came, the coaches didn't. Now, Kevin Smith ultimately took the job. John Garrison did not. He stayed. So Lane Kiffin had to go find an offensive line coach. Now, James Craig joined the staff as an assistant offensive line coach, and they've added other assistants. But he ultimately went and hired Eric Wolford, who had been at Kentucky. And when you look at what they were able to do in this offensive line, on the offensive line this cycle, having to replace the 8 guys that went into the transfer portal, it is pretty remarkable the job they were able to do. Listen, anybody can go recruit Jordan Seaton. I don't mean to minimize that, but the point is, like, it doesn't take a heavy lift to identify a guy that next year might very well be the first offensive lineman taken in the draft, that most people sort of, there's a consensus think is going to be a first-round draft pick next year. You can go look at Oluba, who is a guy who was a former top 100 overall prospect, signed with Georgia, redshirted, transferred to Maryland, started 2 years in the Big Ten. Like, it's just not a stretch to look at that guy and think, oh, man, you found the diamond in the rough. But when you start to peel back the layers of how they built it with the top-line guys on the offensive line, with the depth pieces that have played a lot, Jaquan Sprinkle from NC State, Jacoby Jones coming from the JUCO ranks. Now you had Adrian Lamb, another JUCO guy. You know, when you look at some of the other guys like Sean Tompkins from Baylor, who's been a starting left tackle, probably going to back up Jordan Seaton this year, maybe battle for the left guard job. And then you have guys like Darren Stray from Kentucky and William Satterwhite from Tennessee, who are high ceiling guys that haven't played, they redshirted, and are coming to LSU with the opportunity to provide depth and then ultimately be a starter. They rebuilt the layers and the depth of that offensive line. Truly a remarkable job, and adding Adrian Lamb late in the game here, I think it speaks volumes when you look at the fact that Georgia, Alabama, and Auburn all wanted him, and he picked LSU even with all of the depth that they brought in on this in this class and rebuilding that roster. So you added a bunch of guys that aren't going to be immediate playing time guys, but guys that are going to be certainly impactful for this year and for years to come. So a really busy day where we are here at Super Bowl 60 Radio Row with our coverage presented by FMOL Health. Our Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We're going to knock out our first break of the show. When we come back, we are scheduled to be joined live here on Radio Row by former Eagles and Redskins at the time, now Commanders, and Vikings quarterback Donovan McNabb. Very much looking forward to that conversation. We'll do it as we continue here. It is a Hump Day edition of AFR. We are presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, and we will continue. Donovan McNabb set to join us next on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. You know, we talk so much here about this portal class that LSU signed. We talk about getting Lane Kiffin here, the staff, the support staff, everything. Well, it can't be done without the support of great supporters of Tiger Athletics like Gordon McKernan. Of course, through the G team, they've done that in this NIL era, and that's awesome, and certainly people have been really excited about it. But so much more. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Whether it's a car wreck, whether it's a big truck wreck, if it's workers' comp, slip and fall, any type of injury, you need representation. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. AFR, live from Super Bowl 60 Radio Row. Presented by FMOL Health. This is how we healthcare.
Donovan McNabb set to join us here on site. We go through this every year at SEC Football Media Day, so it is worth mentioning for those who are familiar with it. There's CD Lamb, by the way. It's one of the really cool things about Radio Row. It's just, at this event, A-list celebrities, athletes, just everybody everywhere in one homogenous blob, all existing together in the same spot. It's pretty cool. So CD Lamb's walking over there, and we're waiting on Donovan McNabb to roll up. But if you've watched our coverage at SEC Football Media Days over the years or things like this, when you schedule things live, you hope that it works, that people are on time, but sometimes schedules can be off for a minute or two. So we'll wait for Donovan McNabb, who's set to join us here in actually right now, but he's running a bit late. I'll tell you also, excited about this. We do have coming up at the bottom of this hour, you take a shot with some of this, but FredAnthony Smith is going to join us here in about 15 minutes, or scheduled to join us here in about 15 minutes. And he did a docuseries called the Coach Vick Experience about Michael Vick moving into coaching, and really the whole line starting with Deion Sanders, which so many players have now followed into that coaching, and Marshall Faulk among them. So you'll have our conversation with Marshall Faulk in a little bit as well. But looking forward to that conversation with FredAnthony Smith coming up in a smidge. As we mentioned, we did have media availability for the Super Bowl participants with Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald, Battle of the Mikes with the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. But we also get to hear from the players. And Kayshon Boutte continues to be just a fascinating story in this Super Bowl, because you have a guy who's only 23 years old, feels like he has lived doesn't it feel like a lifetime ago that Kayshon Boutte was catching, that 300-yard game against Ole Miss in the rain in the COVID year, or tearing up the beginning of the 2021 season, like the start of the Kelly era. Remember, he came back in 2022, and Brian Kelly sort of infamously said, Kayshon's, I know his name, basically. We're starting to get to know each other. Still only 23 years old, which in one part tells you, how much of a challenge maybe the last 5 years has been for Kayshon, but also at 23 to figure it out. He's got this giant runway ahead of him, which is awesome. And now playing in a Super Bowl, and he talked about, playing in a game of this magnitude.
Nah, I mean, it's still football at the end of the day, whether I'm playing it here in Gillette, whether we go to Miami, like, it's still football. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to think no different about a game. So, at the end of the day, I still got to execute the same way.
He's got a big challenge. And he's got a big challenge as well going up against the Seattle Seahawks secondary Sunday there at Levi Stadium.
I mean, it'll be a good matchup. Like somebody just asked me. I mean, they're a good group. Obviously, secondary, linebackers, D-line, they're a good team. They play good football together. They fight through contact. They play to the echo of the whistle. I mean, it's going to be great.
Now, Kayshon Boutte, 33 catches, 551 yards, 6 touchdowns on the season, averaged nearly 17 yards a reception. So he didn't just become a consistent target. He became a big play target for Drake May as well. And talk about a young quarterback developing a rapport with the receiver. They've clearly done that. Now, the guy that's going to be protecting Drake May's blind side against a ferocious Seattle pass rush is Will Campbell. And Will Campbell was asked about this, his first playoff experience this year.
Yeah, everything. Every single player in this league is looking for ways to grow. There's never going to be a perfect game, but you just take the punches and roll with them and, learn from it. Whether it's good or bad, you can't get too high, can't get too low, can't ride the emotional roller coaster, and, just continue to try to better yourself.
Campbell will be a fascinating storyline to watch, how he handles the Seattle Seahawks pass rush. When you look at 2026 NFL sack leaders, Seattle is one of those teams that's outstanding at pressuring the quarterback. And, Will Campbell, we've talked about it here, but you're talking about, a guy who is playing longer into the season than he ever has in his life, right? In college, you're playing 12 or 13 games. You go into the NFL, you got 3 preseason games, 17-game regular season. Now he's played 3 postseason games, so he's up to 23 games that he's played because he did play, in the preseason as well. So you look at Seattle, and this is a team that has been one of the best in the NFL at pressuring the quarterbacks. So a challenge for, especially in this postseason, a real challenge for Will Campbell, who's playing deeper into the season, and obviously a guy who has battled a little bit of an injury late in the year as well. So we'll see how Will Campbell can fare there, protecting the blind side for Drake May. All right, you can tell I am trying to fill until Donovan McNabb comes. I don't see him, so we may just have to move on. Let me remind you about South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Remember, at South Point Volkswagen, they'll say you name brand, or they'll say, obviously, the best vehicles on the road, the great German engineering, all the style, feel, performance of luxury without the cost, and they're right there on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge. So, look, you can shop around to a lot of different dealerships. But if we're talking about, buying a Volkswagen and a dealership that can give you the best deal, maybe it's worth making the drive. And you can do the whole thing online. You can shop them at southpointvw.com. You can search their inventory. You can work out your financing. It's all there at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. It is South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. I'm glad you're hanging out with us here. We're at Radio Row, Super Bowl 60. Our coverage all week is brought to you by FMOL Health, so we certainly appreciate them for bringing us our coverage here this week. All right, we will, but I guess one other quick tidbit from Lane Kiffin's media availability from earlier today is about Sam Leavitt, and that's going to be a giant storyline as we move to and through the spring practice. But Sam Leavitt, according to Lane Kiffin, will in fact be limited in spring. There is something we had reported for a while now was that there was hope that Leavitt would be able to participate in 7-on-7 work. He would not be a full participant, but there was hope he would be able to participate in 7-on-7 drills. So as we get closer to spring, one of the things that Kiffin did in fact confirm is that is that Levitt will be available for 7-on-7s, and that Husan Longstreet coming in from Southern Cal will take the lion's share of the first-team reps there in throughout spring drill. Landon Clark will split some of those first-team reps while Sam Levitt is recovering from that Liz Frank injury. I know this is something we will no doubt discuss quite a bit as we move throughout the rest of this offseason and up into spring. But when it comes to Sam Levitt and that Liz Frank injury, you would love to have Sam Levitt fully available for spring. I'm not going to downplay that. You're talking about a new quarterback with a new coach, new offensive coordinator, new terminology, new system, new everything. And you would love to have those reps in spring for him to work out timing with the receivers, command the huddle, all of it. More importantly, is Sam Levitt be healthy when you play Clemson on Labor Day weekend? And so whatever that's going to take to make sure that Sam Levitt is healthy and ready to roll on Labor Day weekend, if that means being limited in spring, just what it is. I know we've talked about it before, but Joe Burrow was a late add in 2018, didn't show up on campus until May and started going through summer workouts in June. But it was a little bit of a transition for Burrow. He didn't really hit his stride until November. Didn't throw a touchdown pass the entire month of October in 2018 in that first season. So I'm not going to completely downplay or eliminate the impact of Levitt not being available for spring except for 7-on-7. I think it's a good thing that he'll be able to throw, develop some rapport maybe with those receivers and timing. It also helps that he has been a multi-year starter and has got a team to the college football playoff. But yes, I would, especially considering how the season starts with Clemson and then week 3 going to Oxford to play Ole Miss. You would love to have all of these reps to get him ready, but we'll see what he's able to do when the Tigers hit the practice field for spring. Okay, my apologies, y'all. We were supposed to have Donovan McNabb live. He was scheduled. We confirmed. Sometimes this happens. So let me knock on a break. We'll come back here from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60. Our coverage presented by FMOL Health. When we come back, FredAnthony Smith will join us. He is the producer of the Coach Vick Experience. We'll do that. Also, our conversation with Marshall Faulk, head coach of the Southern Jags, coming up here in about 15 minutes from right now. We are glad to have you here on Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60, here presented by FMOL Health.
After further review.
Hey, if you're thinking of putting in a pool, our friends over at Duplessis Builders, only name you need to know. DuplessisBuilders.net, DuplessisBuilders.net. Call Derek Duplessis, or better yet, go to the website, DuplessisBuilders.net. One of the great things that I love telling you about with Duplessis Builders at the website is they have this fully integrated function for either a pool or an outdoor kitchen where you can go choose the base model, just select it, and then pick whatever finishes that you want. What type of stone, tile, do you want water features, fountains, water jets? Do you want lights in the pool? All that, you go pick out all the features that you want. Go build or design your own pool right there on the website. It's DuplessisBuilders.net. They can do any type of resort-style custom pool, but they have options that start less than $50K, and financing is available. Check them out online at DuplessisBuilders.net. It's DuplessisBuilders.net.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. After further review with Matt Moscona, live from Super Bowl 60 Radio Row in San Francisco. Presented by FMOL Health. This is how we healthcare.
One of the really cool things about getting the opportunity to come to events like this is to have conversations. Otherwise, you may never have. And we have that opportunity right now. So FredAnthony Smith, who is the producer of the Coach Vick Experience, a docuseries about Michael Vick in this new chapter of his life. And what a fascinating guy he is. Anthony, it's our pleasure. Thank you for the time. How are you?
Thank you for having me. It is starting to become a madhouse here on Radio Row.
We were talking before we came on. Last year in New Orleans, we did all 5 days. and saying, candidly, Monday and Tuesday we're a little slow, and by Wednesday pop. So it's why we made the decision to come. You kind of validated that for us just a minute ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is Wednesday and Thursday, peak Radio Row.
We're excited about it. You've been doing, this is old hat for you. You said you've been coming since 2007 with the NFL Network?
Yeah, so I spent 17 years working with the NFL at NFL Network. And then the last 4 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Michael Strahan and Constance Schwartz-Marini, overseeing production and development for their production company.
And that, of course, is Smack Entertainment. And I shared this with our audience. I shared it with you as well, that kind of became familiar with Smack in a broader sense because Jordan Seaton is a client, new LSU offensive lineman, is a client of Smack. So I think LSU got a good one.
Jordan Seaton is he's a pretty good football player. He's a hell of a football player. So you're gonna enjoy your time with him. And he's a great kid. Great kid.
I don't think our time with him is going to be very long. I think it's going to be probably about 8 months or so, and 10 months, and then he's going to be off to the NFL. But we're looking forward to that. But speaking of NFL, I mean, this project with Michael Vick, I think, is a fascinating thing because I'm not sure that I can come up with. I mean, and I'm not really big into hyperbole, but I literally don't know that I could come up with another story quite like his.
Yes, it is very unique. I've known Michael for a couple years now, him and his wife Kiafa, and it's a story of resilience. It's a story of highs and lows, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. But the one thing that I think is really interesting about Michael is that he is raw, he is honest, and he really, in this chapter of his life, having been around him for a couple years now, he is really authentic in terms of wanting to give back and to really work with younger people. We did a project together 2 years ago, the Evolution of the Black Quarterback, and it was traveling with him around the country, talking to everybody from Dak Prescott to Mahomes, Kaepernick, Josh Allen, Steve Young, who was an idol, who Michael Vick, idolized growing up. And seeing the way that not only current players but older players responded to him was really unique, and I think it's because of his story. It's such a unique, interesting story, and he has gotten off the mat repeatedly and continue to come back and continue to fight, and to learn from mistakes. And that's one thing that that I tell young people when I'm talking to young people. It's like, listen to your parents, listen to your teachers, listen to your coaches, listen to your mentors. They have experienced what you are experiencing. You don't want to be in a situation where you're like, man, I should have listened. Yeah. And Michael Vick, and it's part of this, this story with Coach Vick. He wants them to win, obviously, but he also wants them to learn. He wants them to become better men, and by the time he's done with them, to be better men.
By the way, where is this going to be streamed, broadcast?
BET. It's going to be on BET. Premieres tonight, 8 episodes. So for the next 8 weeks, you can find it Wednesdays on BET. So please tune in and watch. I think it's going to be something that football fans are going to love. But also, if you're not a football fan and you just want to see a family kind of experience a season and a homecoming, and there's elements of the Osbournes, and there's elements of, when you think about Roseanne and Fresh Prince and these classic sitcom families. He has a kid that just got out of college, another kid that's in college. He has a daughter that's a senior in high school that's going to college, and then they have a little 7-year-old running around causing chaos. And he's back home, so his mom is there, and seeing mom and wife interact is, it's funny, and it's people calling him, how do we turn the alarm off? And he's in the middle of a meeting, and so it's a lot of that as well. But the family's, it's a loving family. Him and his wife have been together since college, so it's got some love and some romance, and but it's really about him going home. Like, he left Virginia 20 plus years ago to go to the NFL. This is his first time going back and living since he left.
So where was he living when his career ended, his football career ended?
So where was the last place he was Pittsburgh. I think it was Philly, then he went to Pittsburgh, and I think the Jets might have been the last team that he played for. But kind of bounced around at the end. But yeah, his first time going home, and they ended up retiring in Florida, like so many people retire in Florida.
Sure.
But
so he was in Florida when he got the call from Norfolk State.
So he's in Florida.
Anthony Smith is with us, the producer of the Coach Vick Experience, which debuts tonight. on BET. Is there a streaming option if people want to watch it?
So it'll ultimately be on BET Plus.
Okay,
Yeah.
after they air, after the 8 episodes air. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so set your DVRs tonight. One of the things I'm always fascinated about with Mike Vick is, it seems like you'd be a good person to answer this, is if there's any bitterness or resentment.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a man who went to federal prison for something that a lot of people looked at. I'm not here to make any judgment, but he went to federal prison, and a lot of people were like, went to federal prison?
Yeah.
In the middle of an NFL career.
Yeah.
Does he harbor any of those feelings in his life?
I haven't seen it. Again, I've been around him for, 6-7 years now, and you don't see it. And one of the things, it's funny. So when we did the last project we did together, Jamie Foxx he talked about Willie Beeman. So he's talking about his experience as a quarterback, and but he also played Texas high school football. And
Jamie Foxx did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And
okay.
him and Michael were kind of throwing the ball around. And but one of the things that Jamie told Michael, he was like, when you got out, you did not blame anybody. You did not point any fingers. You knew you made a mistake. Now, we can debate punishment, crime, all of that, but you knew you made a mistake. And you didn't try to point any fingers. You didn't try to deflect. You said, I made a mistake and I'm going to be better. And so many people respect and love you because of that.
Yeah.
And since you have gotten the second chance, you have, fully, grabbed the bull by its horns and have really looked to be a positive influence on not only football, but people in general. And that's what I see. I don't see bitterness. I see him really saying, look, man, I got a second chance. I got to, everybody doesn't get a second chance. And I'm gonna embrace life, like I'm breathing my last breath. I'm about to breathe my last breath. And you see that with how he works with the kids, how he works with his kids and deals with his family. He knows that, that nothing is promised. Mm-hmm. And you really see that in his interactions with people. I mean, I'll never forget, we were when we were doing our last show, we were in Buffalo. And me and him were just we're waiting for our flight. We're sitting in a little restaurant. And people just kept coming up to him in Buffalo. And I was like, man, do you ever get tired of just people coming up to you, you're trying to eat? And it's, and he's like, man, this is a blessing.
Yeah.
He's like, the fact that people even want to take a picture, say hi, ask for an autograph, what have you. It's like, that's a blessing.
That's great.
Because everybody doesn't get that, and I definitely didn't have to get that. Going through what I went through. So that's what I see. That's what I've seen. These last few years.
The life and the human interest part of it obviously is significant. Is there football in this as well?
Oh, there's a lot of football.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of football. It's definitely a football show, and trying to build a program, and I'm not even going to say rebuild, because it's a team that has never had success.
Right.
It's like they had one winning season in the last 20, 30 years. So it's some kind of crazy stat like that. So it's not a rebuild, it's a build from scratch. And to see that, and to see it over the course of a landscape where now you have NIL, now you have the portal, and there's all these things that you're dealing with that coaches previously didn't have to deal with. So building a program as a first-time head coach, but then having all of these other things, that you're dealing with as well, it's complicated, it's difficult, but it makes for very intriguing TV to see how you're navigating all of that.
The Coach Vick Experience premieres tonight on BET, new docuseries, 8 episodes. FredAnthony Smith. Anthony Smith is joining us here. Last thing, I love asking this to authors, to filmmakers, anyone that is a creative, musicians. Yeah. No matter what, it is universal. Something ends up on the cutting room floor that you wish was in it.
Yes.
What is that thing?
Wow, on this one, man, so we... So there's a scene this is with Michael's wife, Kiafa, and their daughter, college-age daughter. She was home. This was before the school year started. And they go to a gym, and there's this crazy woman that's the trainer.
Okay.
And she's coaching them up, and she's drill sergeant. And Mike's wife is like, this woman is crazy, and it's funny, it's hilarious. It's like one of these reality show type of scenes. And this woman, like, she believes everything she's telling them. So she is like running them into the ground. And, for cutting purposes, basic purposes, we had to pull it out. That was funny that we ended up losing. And then also
put it on Instagram.
Yeah, I know, right? And then also Michael and Deshaun Jackson had a great conversation leading up to.
They played against each other this year.
Leading up to the game where they played against each other. They're sitting in the green room. Good Morning America. They're about to go out and talk to Michael Strahan, and it's a great scene. And we used a lot of it, but I mean, you could have built the whole show around them just talking about things that they've learned, being in Philly, playing for Andy Reid, LaShawn McCoy, Chip Kelly coming. It's like just hearing them talk. Could have been a show, and we cut it down, but that was really an amazing conversation.
Anthony Smith, it is the Coach Vick Experience. It premieres tonight, 8-week docuseries, 8-episode docuseries on BET, and it will be streaming on BET Plus once all 8 episodes air. Make sure you check it out starting tonight. Sir, thank you for the time. It's our pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
It is After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Hey, look, it's not too late to get your king cakes, y'all, over at Rouse's. Remember, maybe you got family in the Bay Area where we are. You could get to Rouse's.com. You could ship a king cake anywhere in the lower 48. Carnival season, we got a couple of weeks left. Make sure you take advantage. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com to go ship that king cake as they keep opening new stores, getting up to 76 locations here in these next few weeks. Rouse's.com. Rouse's, this feels like home. Okay, speaking of FCS coaches, players turn coaches, had a chance to visit with the new head coach of the Southern Jaguars. Our convo with Marshall Faulk is next here on AFR from Radio Row, presented by FMOL Health.
After Further Review.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com, complete employer solutions. That's what you get with Jareth Knockan and the crew over at Glow Resources. Hey, remember, 2026 is here. If you want to maximize productivity in 2026, you need, or any year, you need the right people. You need the right people, the right seats on the bus. I say it that way all the time. That's what Glow Resources does. Glow Resources helps you find permanent solutions for whatever job it is that you're trying to fill. So log on to glowresources.com, get in touch, and start that process. You have nothing to lose, quite literally. They find you an employee. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out, they will give you a prorated refund, or they will find you a new employee at no charge. It's Glow Resources. Again, online at GLO, glowresources.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. AFR, live from Super Bowl 60 Radio Row, presented by FMOL Health. This is how we healthcare.
Our coverage from Super Bowl 60 Radio Row, presented by FMOL Health, continues, and we are joined by someone who in our state needs no introduction, but he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion. He's the head coach of the Southern Jaguars. He is Marshall Faulk. Sir, it's a pleasure. How are you?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing awesome. First day here on Radio Row for Super Bowl 60. You did this as a player a couple of times. What's it like being here as a head coach promoting a program and being on the other side of it?
Yeah, did it as a player, did it as an analyst. I worked in the media for a while, and now as a coach, getting a chance to come out here about as far west as you can come and promote the Southern Jaguars and let people know, what the program is all about, school is all about, and make sure that the parents, the people that are out here, that if they want to, have the HBCU experience, come down to the South and get the home cooking, get all the hospitality, they get a chance to come down and experience that with the wonderful institution that we have over on the Bluffs.
Yeah, why was Southern the right opportunity for you?
It just fit. In the essence of why people do certain things. I know for me, I'm all about my impact and where do I have the most reach and how can I make the biggest impact? And other jobs that I said no to, this one was, it was just like, it was perfect. And in a sense that I'm not the guy who chooses the easiest thing. Mm-hmm. And in where Southern was after last season, understanding growing up in New Orleans, understanding what Southern means to the state, their high standards, and it wasn't being met. Not to mention the caliber of kids that go to Southern. Usually you get you get that next tier, the guys that don't go to LSU, they won't leave the state. They'll go to a Southern. We weren't getting that out of Baton Rouge. We were not getting that out of New Orleans, and we needed to bring those kids back home so they could have that experience.
You mentioned saying no to other opportunities. If you know, what other opportunities did you have? I mean, it's still been a relatively short coaching career, right?
Yes, it was, but I got other calls to do interviews, and I don't know if they were just meeting the quota, but I had other opportunities at other head coaching jobs that were out there, and I just felt like where could I grow, and what opportunity was best for me, and Southern and I, we kind of met at the right space in the right place. And what their expectations are and what mine are as well.
Yeah. What are those?
Well, I want to come in and first of all, make sure that these young men that come in there, they have a great college experience, not just on the field, but in the classroom as well. And that they're prepared for life. Now, after that, football is football, making sure that they become the kind of kids that understand the game, whether you play the game at the next level or work in the game at the next level. Learning football is the criteria for that should be a standard for every player that plays the game, understanding the game, knowing how to talk about the game, knowing how to be around the game, and allowing the game of football to kind of steer you in life if you choose that. But in football, doing the work that needs to be done and being on a team, using those things, also they work in the corporate world. Yeah. That structure is going to help you out in life. The guy who struggles to be a good teammate, to be accountable, all of those things are the same things that he's going to struggle with in real life, whether it's holding the family down or working at a corporation.
When you were growing up in New Orleans or when you were playing at San Diego State or in the NFL, did you ever think coaching was going to be in your path?
No, I literally turned coaching down. It was like, I don't want to do that.
Why?
It just wasn't for me. I didn't see my path. All the coaches that coached me, that's all they kept telling me was, hey, you need to coach, you need to coach, you need to coach. And I was like, nah, it's not I didn't see it as my path. And once Coach Prime said, hey, come check us out. So I went up there a couple of times and he asked me, I need you to be on this staff and work with me. I need your help. And so in helping him out, I literally found the passion for it in the essence of helping to recruit a kid and offering that kid a scholarship. I saw it. Like, I was like, that was me. This is where my opportunity started. And listening to the parent cry when he accepted it, I was like, wow, this was like, I was so far removed from that experience because I've had so many highs and lows with the game that the first original experience of you getting a scholarship, changing my family's life, being the first one to go to college, graduate from college. I remember what that was, and I was like, there's the impact.
Marshall Faulk is with us here for a couple of more minutes. Southern head coach. Hey, there's a lot of people listening and watching right now in your footprint. What do you need from the southern part of our state to help the Jags?
Just support, man. It's real easy, you know. People always talk about money and all of this stuff. No, we need bodies. We need people to show up who's concerned, to let us know when we're doing good and let us know when we're doing bad. And make sure you understand that I don't care how much these kids are getting paid, whether it's Southern or LSU, they're still kids. They're learning how to grow up. They come to college to learn how to grow up and how to get better. They're going to make mistakes. We're trying to guide them through those mistakes to make sure that they don't make the type of mistakes that stick with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. A few more things. One, Ben Miles is on your staff?
Yes.
I mean, when Les got the job, Ben was a little child.
Yeah.
You know, what was the attraction there to Ben? How's he doing?
Well, home for Ben and a guy who know the Baton Rouge area. Yeah. He grew up in that area. And what we've tried to do is, whether it's Ben, who grew up in the Baton Rouge area, Curtis Johnson, who's from St. Rhodes, he understands the landscape of the state, because we want to really recruit in state. We want to make sure we bring the guys in state because they need to know about the rich history of Southern football. If not, it's just another HBCU.
Yeah. When you were in school, Southern won the historically black national championship in '93. So that would have been, you were at San Diego State at the time already. Yep. Who's the best? All right, two things. I know we got to go, but two things. Best high school football player in New Orleans that people don't remember?
Man, best high school football player in New Orleans that people do not remember. I'm going to say, actually, because we went to college together and he was always a tough cover for me. A guy named Ray Peterson, receiver. I'm talking about was a return guy.
Where did he play?
Like did everything. Old Perry Walker.
He was at O.P. Walker?
O.P. Walker, yeah. He went to Old Perry Walker. And he was just a guy that, man, he was my assignment. I covered the best guy. I covered the best receiver on their team. And I had him all game. And over the years, he scored one touchdown on me.
Shout out, Ray. You just got a shout out from the Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. He's one of my best friends. We went to San Diego State together. We were room together. We still keep in contact with each other. We've been friends since we played against each other in high school.
Can you tell the story of how you didn't end up? Our conversation with Southern head coach Marshall Faulk. The last question there was about how he didn't choose LSU. We're flat out of time because we're up against a hard break. We will have that and the full interview posted on YouTube and social media if you want to catch the full interview with Marshall Faulk. We'll have it. We're here at Radio Row from Super Bowl 60.
AFR.
Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com. When I tell you about Arco Power Systems, remember, we are talking about industrial Generac generator power. Everything is turnkey. They can install a standby generator. They can service your standby generator. They can rent you a standby generator. But we are talking about industrial generators, not for your house. This is for your office, your commercial building, your industrial facility, municipalities, schools, hospitals, banks, grocery stores, gas stations, whatever type of commercial industrial facility. When the power goes out, the storm comes, ice storm, wind blows, whatever it is, you can't be offline. What do? You trust Arco, ARCCO, ARCCO. It's Arco.com, Arco.com, and they're all over Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Texas, west to San Antonio. It's Arco Power Systems. Check them out online at Arco.com.